Whenever you're ready.
So, hi guys, we're going to be presenting about how the 2008 financial crisis affected the unemployment rate in the state of Michigan. So, a small introduction to the financial crisis of 2008. It's considered the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s. It happened because subprime mortgages, rating agencies were rating subprime mortgage securities higher than they safer than they actually were. So they were rating them AAA, which is the equivalent to U.S. Treasury bonds at the time. This meant that banks started buying more and more and more of these securities that were rated way safer than they actually were. This led to a higher demand for these mortgages, so banks started giving out more mortgages with higher rates and higher chances of default, which still got rated as very safe. And once all these mortgages started defaulting, all the big banks started losing a lot of their liquidation, a lot of their money. Some had up to 75% of their investments in mortgage securities. This led to the demise of GM, which was the biggest employer in Michigan at the time, as well as many other factors which we're going to speak about in a second.
So ethical cultural groups affected. African Americans and Hispanics were the most affected by the crisis because even before the recession, they had the highest unemployment rate, lowest household income, and highest poverty rate. So African Americans' unemployment rate was 8.6%, and it rose to 15.8%, and Hispanics was 5.8%, and it rose to 12.9%. Both African Americans and Hispanics had a greater increase than the white Americans. However, the entire population of the United States was somehow affected by the financial crisis.
So, the political and economic consequences. Probably the biggest political and economic consequence was the big bailout, which cost the U.S. taxpayer $16.3 trillion over 4 years. We can see this in the tax surplus after the 4 years during the Obama administration. So these banks are so big and they were so intertwined with the economy that the second, if they crash and they weren't bailed out, a huge amount of wealth was going to be lost, and more companies that already were going to crash, there was going to be a higher increase of companies crashing and a higher increase of unemployment nationwide. So the main effect of the 2008 financial crisis in our state would be the loss and the bankruptcy of GM Motors in 2009, because this meant they had to terminate about 1,000 dealerships and a large percentage of their manufacturing plants, of their people who worked in their manufacturing. So after this crash, we can see in the graph how many people started decreasing, how unemployment decreased at this period. We see in the graph ahead of us. We also saw that George Bush's approval rating dropped from 44% down to 27%, his all-time low. And we saw a dramatic rise in outbound migration.
So here you can see a map that represents the percentage change in population of Michigan counties from the years 2008. Here you can see two other maps that show the metropolitan areas of Michigan. And if you look here, most of the metropolitan areas show moderate growth. So now we can analyze the biggest cities, which include Detroit, which is in the Wayne County here, and it's in red, which means it had declining population. The next cities are Grand Rapids in Kent County, Sterling Heights in Macomb County, and Ann Arbor in Washtenaw County. These are all blue, and they represent moderate growth. The last city is Lansing, the capital of Michigan, is in Ingham County, and it shows a very slow loss of population.
So migration. There's no better way to analyze a region's quality of life, both economic and social, than to look at their migration patterns. United Van Lines, which is the largest mover of household goods in the United States, reported that almost all of their moving activities from Michigan were outbound. they reported that 67% of 0.8% of Michigan's migration was outbound, and this was the highest in the nation at the time. It even rose up to 70%. Michigan migration had been lowering for a while before the financial crisis, but it peaked during the financial crisis.
Here we can see a map of the United States in 2005 and 2008, and the blue squares represent the net in-migration, and the red squares represent the outbound migration. In 2005, Michigan shows more net in-migration and barely any outbound, and in 2010, Michigan shows more outbound migration. These graph supports are mapped because in the years of 2008 and 2009, there were less people entering the country.
For our data set, we chose to analyze the unemployment rate in Michigan from the years 1991 to 2016. So the star graphical representation model, which is scatter plot, and this is another graph that shows how the unemployment rate changed in 2008. So we chose to analyze cubic, linear, and quadratic because we thought those could be the best fit models. And after we analyzed it, we got R, which is the correlation coefficient, which measures the strength and the relationship between X and the Y variables. So if the correlation coefficient is 1, then it means there's a perfect relationship. And we got 0.87 for a cubic regression. So it means it's 87% accurate, and that's why we chose it as our best fit model.
Our limitations were that throughout our research we found a lot of data and resources, so it was very hard to narrow it down. And even though another limitation was that even though the cubic regression was the best fit line, it did not fit our model perfectly. Not only there were some outliers, the prediction the model makes is in fact incorrect. The regression predicts that in 2017 there will be 0% unemployment rate, but if we look at the data of April 2017, the unemployment rate is 4.7%.
So after doing our research and gathering our data, we can conclude that the 2008 financial crisis had a really big impact on Michigan's unemployment rate. So in 2008 it was 8.0%, in 2009 it changed to 13.7%. Thank you.
Nice work, guys, even with the loud